I'm Barratt, and the first confession I should make at an Invest in Nottingham evening is that I'm a Derby County supporter. I'm also the CEO and founder of a company called Monica Healthcare, and we've developed a unique wireless fetal maternal monitor. That's one of them. You can see it being modelled by Juliet in the picture there. For context, obviously there are some people in the audience who've been through childbirth and who'll know what a traditional fetal monitor looks like. For those of us that haven't, if you imagine next to the bedside there's a big trolley, and on top of that there's something that looks like a laser printer, so a trolley in a box about the size of the lectern there. Then these transducers which plug in, there are 2 or 3 of those transducers, and they're held on the abdomen during childbirth with thick elastic belts, and they're tensioned belts that hold the transducers in place. They have to be tensioned because they look for mechanical movements of 2 muscles. And those muscles are the uterine muscle, so when the lady contracts during childbirth, and also the second one looks for the fetal heart muscle. So as the fetal heart muscle moves, it tracks the fetal heart rate. It looks at the timing difference between those 2 signals in order to determine fetal well-being and whether there needs to be any form of intervention, a caesarean delivery or such like. The device we have is based on an entirely different technology. So it picks up the electrical signals from the fetal heart and from the uterine muscle. The fetal heart, as you can imagine, is very small, so if you go back to sort of 20 weeks gestation, the fetal heart is about the size of a walnut, and the electrical signals generated from that are at nanovolt level, so 10 to the minus 9. So extracting those signals is incredibly difficult. Because we do that, we're able to develop the device in a much smaller format. So you have this device or the big bedside monitor. The first thing you can see is that, of course, that means the woman's not tethered to the bed. It's wireless, she's able to move around. It's much smaller and you can wear the device. A bit about the company itself. Was founded in 2009. It's actually a spin-out of the University of Nottingham. And it was born out of a research collaboration between the Department of Electronic Engineering and the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the University of Nottingham. We're very much a local company, and that we manufacture the device. It's actually assembled in Derby. The electronics are assembled in Derby. The plastics are made in Chesterfield, not far away. We also employ 10 people at Barratt in the city. And even the venture capital money we actually raised £4 million. £2 million of that came from local VCs, so Catapult Venture Managers and the East Midlands Business Angel Group, so we're well supported locally. But aside from that, we're also now a global business, so we export our product to 25 different countries. We have regulatory approval all across Europe, in Russia, in the Middle East, and also Australia. We're working on Japan. But 2011 was a very big year for us. We gained FDA approval, and that means we have access to the biggest market in the world, which is the United States. And since then, we've shipped hundreds of devices over to the United States. So in 2011, the company became a profitable one. Moving on to the markets and our competitors. The competitors are big companies, so Philips and General Electric own 85% of the global market with the big traditional monitors. But they've been around for 40 years or so, and they harbour a number of well-known limitations. The first one, which we seek to address with our device, the first one is comfort. Patient comfort. So, as I've mentioned before, there are the device is wearable, wireless. That means in labour you can stand up, walk around, go to the toilet, move around on the bed without any difficulty. And that's a big issue, particularly in countries where patients have a lot of choice, like the United States, where there's a private healthcare system. Also, the device sticks onto the abdomen. These little pins stick onto the abdomen via little electrodes that look like elastoplasts. And that means there are no tension belts, so there's no pressure on the abdomen during childbirth. So patient comfort is the first issue. The second issue is accuracy. So we've proven in our clinical trials that the device is much more accurate than traditional fetal monitors, since we look at the a very sharp fiducial point of the electrical signal of the fetal heart rate, rather than looking for a very slow moving mechanical signal for the fetal heart rate. And that's very important again in the United States and other litigious societies. There is a huge problem with obstetric litigation. It costs a huge amount of money in the United States. And a lot of that is down to incorrect and poorly interpreted signals. The third is the time cost. So our device actually tracks the fetus wherever it moves. Traditional monitors with these kind of transducers have to be repositioned frequently in response to fetal movement. So wherever the fetus moves, the transducer has to be moved to point at the fetal heart. And that takes up a huge amount of midwife time or nurse time in the United States, which really looking after the monitoring when they should be looking after the patient. So those are the three major factors. The market I've spoken about mostly so far is labour and delivery, but we're also now branching out into home care. So you'll see in the picture there, the device is connected to an iPad. We also connect the device to a smartphone, and in that way we're able to send data back from the patient's home to a central point. And we won a contract last year with a company called Alair, who are the biggest obstetric home care provider in the world. They monitor 200,000 women at home every year in the United States. They're based in Atlanta. And that's our major focus at the moment, delivering that order for home care. In the future, the next development project we have is to shrink this device into a single microchip, embed it with the electrodes into what looks like a sticky elastoplast, so a peel and stick disposable monitor, if you like. Just simply like buying an elastoplast and sticking on your abdomen, you'll be able to monitor fetal heart rate. Obviously, moving to a disposable model is good for us from a revenue perspective, but there's also cost savings for the market themselves in terms of there's no big capital expenditure. This is an ongoing revenue stream from a relatively cheap consumable part. I've also been asked to comment on what I think is the best thing in Nottingham. And as a Rams fan, I struggle with this. But I'll resist the temptation to say the A52 and say that my view is that it's the universities. The universities have been incredibly useful for us in terms of recruitment. So we have, out of our 10 employees, 7 of them are R&D engineers and signal processing guys, and they're all from the universities in Nottingham. So the universities, BioCity has been very useful to us too, as have the support organisations like Medilink, and also the local manufacturing base in the East Midlands is still very important to us. So Forest aside, I think there are many reasons to begin your business in Nottingham. Thank you very much.
Carl, I think what you've achieved is absolutely awesome. And I noted that you started the company in 2005, and you've already got quite an international reach, and the FDA approval is a big deal. That is a big deal. That opens up, as you quite rightly say, one of the biggest, arguably the biggest market in the world.
Yes.
But what you also referenced was the fact that how you've grown your business here locally, the links with the university, and I think you said the plastics were done in Chesterfield.
That's
Now,
right.
one of the concerns that we have is that businesses like yours, and I suspect your business is scalable. Your business has the potential to go on to become very significant in size over time. How do we keep it here? How do we keep it in Nottingham? Is it just simply access to capital? It sounds like you've got access to good people, quality people, the research. I'm impressed you're impressing in the business. But how do we keep you here?
Well, I think it's certainly true that there's no cluster of similar companies in the area at the moment in terms of medical device companies. They're generally in Cambridge in the UK. And so you tend to find that very experienced engineers are clustered around those areas. But what we're finding now is we are able to attract those guys to move up to join us in the company. So we don't see any real problem in terms of the design, the R&D aspect remaining in Nottingham. We could, of course, manufacture the device far more cheaply elsewhere, and that will become an issue in the future.
Well, I think what you've done is quite amazing, Cole. Thank you very much indeed.
No problem.